Hi, I'm Rose. Here with me today is Dan Harris, ABC anchor, author of 10% Happier, creator of the application 10% Happier.
Thanks for having me.
So tell me, you went to Afghanistan and came back with PTSD.
I would say that I came back and got depressed. I don't think I had PTSD. I think it was something a little bit trickier. It was that I was kind of addicted to the adrenaline of covering war zones. So I spent a time in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Israel, the West Bank, Gaza, and then I made 6 trips to Iraq, all after 9/11. And I think the complicated thing was that I wasn't that I was traumatized by it, but it was that I liked it. I liked there's an old expression that there's nothing more thrilling than the bullet that misses you. And luckily for me, the bullets all missed. Wasn't true, unfortunately, for a lot of the people I knew.
Well, you're also living in that survival mode full time, more so than you are here. I mean, most of us do live in survival mode, I feel, but I could only imagine that when you're there, it's intensified because you must always be on that high alert, right? Because danger is surrounding you.
Yeah, although, the truth of working in places like that is there are long stretches of time where you're not in danger, but when you are in danger, of course, there's a massive surge of adrenaline. I want to stress that, while combat reporters or conflict reporters encounter a certain amount of danger, it's nothing compared to the troops. So they're much more prone to PTSD because I think they're exposed to infinitely more traumatic things than we are.
So you came home and you were depressed.
Yes.
And I mean, what did you do?
Well, I did something very stupid, which is this was during the summer of 2003, so like right around as the insurgency was beginning in Iraq, right when George W. Bush infamously said, bring it on, and they did. I came home, I had been in Iraq for like 5 or 6 months, and I got depressed, and I didn't even know I was depressed, although I was having trouble. I was exhibiting symptoms that I now know are like signature symptoms. I was having trouble getting out of bed. I felt like I had a low-grade fever all the time. And I did really a dumb thing, which is I started to self-medicate with recreational drugs, including cocaine and ecstasy. I was 32. I'd never done hard drugs before, but frankly, it made me feel better.
How did you get to start taking the drugs? Did
Yeah,
someone introduce you,
yeah, it was
or
just
you were
at a
just
party.
like, okay, let me just...
I didn't seek it out. It was at a party. It was offered to me. But if you're a young guy in the city,
And you're,
it's not uncommon for drugs to be around. I had never been tempted to do them before, but I remember the moment. I write about it in my book. We're going to a party. A friend of mine offered me, and I felt so low energy that I don't know why. I just said yes, and it was just like doing cocaine.
Miracle.
Yeah, it just made me feel better. Of course, then it makes you feel horrible. So I don't recommend it at all. And of course, it had all sorts of other terrible effects on me as well.
Well, I mean, you're fortunate to have realized that and get yourself out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're here now. That's a good thing. You also suffered a panic attack.
Yeah, but I think
right on the air.
Yeah, that was because of the drugs. I wasn't doing. It wasn't. I make this joke all the time. It wasn't like the Wolf of Wall Street where they're popping Quaaludes every day. I mean, I was casually, socially, intermittently using drugs over the course of about 2 years, and then I had a panic attack live on Good Morning America. I was reading. My job was to read the news headlines. There's a person who comes on at the top of each hour and reads the headlines, and I just lost. My heart was racing. My mind was racing. My palms were sweating. I couldn't breathe. My lungs seized up. I just couldn't talk. So I had to quit right in the middle. It was really terrifying.
You described that whole experience really well in the book.
Oh, thanks.
10% Happier.
Thanks. So after I had this panic attack, actually after I had 2 panic attacks, the second one was much more mild. I went to a doctor here in New York City at NYU who's an expert in panic, and he asked me a bunch of questions, and one of the questions was, do you do drugs? And I said, yeah, I do, and I never really told anybody that in a position of authority, and he kind of gave me a look that said, okay, idiot, mystery solved. That's why you had a panic attack. I hadn't been doing drugs the day I was on the air. I never was using drugs when I was working or anything like that. But the doctor explained that it artificially raises the level of adrenaline in your brain and primes you, it makes you much more likely to have a panic attack.
So when you started to pick apart, why, you started to look into why you were suffering like that, what did you find?
I think it was a case study in mindlessness. The moment when it really came together, what had gone wrong was when and this is kind of embarrassing to somebody like me who considers himself, not touchy-feely, but I read a self-help book by a guy named Eckhart Tolle, and I was reading it for work, actually, because one of my jobs at work is to cover faith and spirituality, and so this was several years after the panic attack. It was actually in 2008, so 3 or 4 years after the panic attack, and I was reading this book, and Tolle talks about the fact that we all have a voice in our heads, this voice that kind of chases you out of bed in the morning and is yammering at you all day long, and giving you terrible ideas. You're always thinking about the past or thinking about the future to the detriment of whatever's happening right now. You're criticizing yourself, you're judging other people, you're comparing yourself to other people. It's just blah, blah, blah all the time. And nobody had ever really pointed that out to me before. And I was really taken with this diagnosis of the human situation, and I realized that explained my panic attack. That voice is why I went off to war zones, kind of super ambitious, super curious, very idealistic, but never thinking about the consequences for my own psychology. And then I came home and got depressed and was insufficiently self-aware to even know it. And then I blindly self-medicated and it all blew up in my face. So that to me was what crystallized the whole thing and kind of set me off on this journey that I've been on for a while.
Right. So you were ready to embrace your spirituality and your journey at that time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little allergic to words like spirituality and journey, even though I just involuntarily used the word journey a minute ago. But because I am, not that I have a problem with you using it, it's just that for me, somebody like me, I am such a skeptic, and I was raised as an atheist. I'm still an atheist, or maybe to be more technically accurate, I'm a respectful agnostic. But I am not, my parents are both scientists, my wife is a scientist. It's not my type of thing. Like if you ever told me I was going to be in a room in front of like a Tibetan tanka and, talking about spirituality, I would have coughed my beer up through my nose. Like that is not my thing. And so for me to be on this trip at all was very weird.
So what I love about the book is that you make meditation so accessible. Can you give our audience a couple of tips on how you found that ground, in your non-spiritual way of thinking?
Yeah, I mean, meditation is not, I mean, it can be, but it doesn't have to be
Exactly.
religious, or you have to wear robes or chant or believe in anything, or all the stuff that I think stereotypically we associate with meditation. Mm-hmm. It is, at its core, exercise for your mind and your brain. And that I can get on board with. I mean, I exercise my body, and I think most of us do, and if we don't, we feel guilty about it. And this is just a way, we spend so much time working on our home decor, on our cars, on our stock portfolios, on our outfits, on our bodies, and most of us spend no time on the one filter through which we experience everything, and that's our mind.
What benefits have you noticed?
I'd say the two big benefits that I started to experience very quickly after starting to meditate, one is that it boosted my focus. The second benefit is this word mindfulness, which has kind of become a little bit of a buzz phrase of late. Sometimes I hear people use it and I'm not sure they actually know what they're talking about. But I think one simple way to describe it is it's the ability to know what's going on in your head without getting carried away by it. And basically, mindfulness is the ability to respond wisely to things in your life instead of reacting blindly. We spend all of our time just kind of yanked around by the malevolent puppeteer of our ego.
So what takeaways do you want people to have with the book, 10% Happier?
So my takeaway is you should meditate. That if it can work for me, it can work for anybody, because I am super skeptical. I don't like sitting still. I don't like a lot of the things that come in traditionally with the meditation world, and yet I do it, and so do athletes and executives and Marines and lawyers and doctors and scientists. And this is the next, big public health revolution, I think.
You just launched a new app.
Yeah.
10% Happier, meditation for fidgety skeptics.
That's right. Got it perfect.
There we go. And where do we get it?
You can get it in the App Store on Apple, and if you have an Android phone, you can just get it through our website, which is 10percenthappier.com. You can download a version that will work on any other type of phone.
Okay, great. And it will help us be in the moment. Learn how to be in the moment.
So it's really designed for people who don't think they can meditate, which is almost everybody. Because here's something I hear this all the time, which is people come to me, they say, I get it, the science shows that meditation is good for you, but you don't understand, I can't do it. I think you have to think about it like going to the gym. If you go to the gym and it's easy, you're cheating. It's a bicep curl for your brain. And it literally shows up on the brain scans in these studies. You are changing your brain. You are rewiring your brain so that you are sort of kicking yourself out of a lifetime's habit of sleepwalking in a fog of rumination and projection. And you're doing this radical thing of focusing on what's happening right now. And it takes practice.
So how does the app help?
So every day on the app, you get a short little video clip of me talking to a master teacher, and then that teacher gives you a short audio guided meditation. And we just walk you through a progression every day where you get a little bit of instruction on a video and then a little bit more instruction on audio. It's designed for busy people. Shouldn't take you more than 10, 15 minutes a day. We make it fun, and we give you a coach, somebody that beginning meditators have a million questions. Usually the question is, am I doing this right? So within the app, you can we'll assign you a coach, a real human being that you can text your questions to. This happened to me. Is this a mistake? Is this unusual? I keep falling asleep. Am I a failed meditator? No, you're not. So we really try to make it so you get the simplest, easiest, most supportive environment to get this habit going.
Okay, and we can download it now?
You can download it. The first 7 days are free, and if you like it, you can subscribe. And frankly, if you're into saving money, which is totally cool, those first 7 days will teach you how to meditate, and then you can walk away.
So what are the few ways that we can incorporate meditation in our everyday lives also without, having an app?
So I think there's a bunch of ways to do this. I really think that it helps as a foundation to have a 5 to 10 minute a day formal seated practice, just where you're actually sitting down and trying to do the basic meditation. Basic mindfulness meditation, just for the record, and there are lots of forms of meditation, but when I talk about meditation, I'm talking about mindfulness meditation, which is a secular form of meditation that's really been studied the most in the labs. Really just involves trying to feel your breath coming in and going out. You don't have to breathe in a special way. It's how
you could be sitting anywhere.
Yes, yeah, it should be as quiet as possible, but it doesn't have to be
on the floor or sitting in a chair.
Chair, floor. I sit in a chair. You don't have to sit cross-legged. I don't like sitting cross-legged. It's too painful for me. I think it helps for it to be quiet, but if you got good headphones, you can do it on the subway or on an airplane. I do it in airplanes, taxis, Uber cars, everywhere. And you're just feeling your breath coming in, going out, usually with your eyes closed. And then as soon as you get distracted, you start again. And then you're going to get distracted over and over and over. That's totally fine. That is the nature of the game. This is a hard thing for type A strivers to understand because we want to win. We want to do it correctly. Right. There's no winning at meditation. It's a completely different type of activity. You have to go into it with the expectation baked in that you're going to get lost a lot. And that is meditation. But you can also bring this very skill off the cushion into your regular life. So we have this habit when we're walking between meetings or between appointments of checking our phones or having rehearsed conversation, yelling at somebody in ways that we wish we could yell at them or whatever. Mm-hmm. So maybe just feel the motion of your legs as you walk or feel the air on your face. And then every time you get distracted, start again.
Those are forms of meditation.
That's absolutely meditation. Or when you try to start your computer up in the morning, instead of getting itchy while you're waiting for everything to start, maybe just check in with your breath there.
And where can they find you if they want to find out more about you?
Twitter, Facebook.
YouTube.
Yeah, there's stuff. You can see my panic attack on YouTube. It's got a lot of hits.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.